Your notebook is open, your inbox is loud, and the task you meant to finish is being pushed aside by 6 unrelated thoughts. One is a deadline. One is an errand. One is an idea that might matter later. If all of them stay in your head, the cost is not only stress. It is a slow loss of decision quality because everything starts to feel equally urgent. The 7-line clarity rail is a tiny notebook system built for that exact moment. It gives loose thoughts a temporary place, forces a decision only at the right threshold, and produces one visible next action instead of a page of competing fragments. The unresolved question is simple. What will this mark make me choose next? Information overload usually survives because the common fix is only half a fix. You write things down, but every line lands with the same weight. A meeting note, a grocery item, a half-formed idea, and a real commitment sit beside each other as if they require the same kind of attention. That is a symptom, not the cause. The cause is mixed commitment. Your notebook becomes a second brain only in the worst sense, another place where unfinished decisions accumulate. What you lose is not just productivity. You lose the ability to see which thought deserves your next hour. A useful notebook has to separate capture from commitment, then reunite them at a controlled moment. The framework uses one physical artifact, a 2-page spread with a narrow spill rail on the outer edge, an open center field, 4 decision marks near the spine, and a small carry-forward box at the bottom. The spill rail is where raw thought goes. The center field is where only the chosen action lives. The marks stand for act, park, delete, and carry forward. A blank line means the thought is still only captured. The box holds the few items that must cross into the next context. The mechanism works because your hand can capture faster than your mind can judge, but your page should not promote a thought until it earns a mark. It applies during ordinary knowledge work, errands, creative sessions, and busy personal admin. It does not solve deep strategy or emotional conflict. It simply makes the next operating decision visible. The first rule is capture without promoting. When a thought asks for future attention but does not belong to the action in front of you, write a short verb and object line in the spill rail and return to the center field. Use this during focused work, calls, chores, reading, or any moment when stopping would break the thread. Do not use it for high-consequence decisions that need proper analysis or for information that must be recorded accurately in a system of record. The outcome is behavioral. A stray thought no longer gets to interrupt by pretending to be urgent. This rule works because it gives the mind evidence that the thought has not been lost. It fails when the line is vague, because vague capture only postpones confusion. The second rule is to sort by return context, not by broad life category. Work, personal, and ideas sound tidy, but they often hide the real question. Where will I be able to act on this? A call belongs where calls happen. A purchase belongs where errands happen. A concept belongs where drafting happens. The trade-off is that your notebook may look less elegant because contexts change faster than categories. The benefit is that review becomes operational instead of decorative. Here is the midpoint self-audit. Open the current page, count the unprocessed lines, circle the one line that can change the next hour, and mark anything else as park, delete, or carry forward. Ask again, what will this mark make me choose next? Consider a project lead starting work at a kitchen table before a commute. The constraint is visible: 25 quiet minutes, 1 client update due, and household tasks appearing at the edge of attention. Instead of building a full plan, she writes 7 short lines in the spill rail as they arise. Send update, book repair, refill forms, ask designer, move laundry, confirm time, save article. Hitting 7 lines triggers triage. No line is allowed to remain half-chosen after that threshold. The client update moves into the center field. The repair and forms go to the carry forward box for the errand context. The article is deleted because it does not change the day. The trade-off is that several small tasks wait. The result is inspectable. 1 central action completed before leaving, 3 deferred items contained, and 1 item removed. At review, she notices articles are often deleted, so next time she captures fewer reading impulses. The third rule is review at gates. A gate is a context change, leaving a room, ending a work block, closing a call, or reaching 7 lines. Do not wait until the page feels messy. At the gate, every spill rail line gets 1 decision mark. Anything unmarked is treated as unfinished capture, not a commitment. This works because context changes are natural moments when attention is already shifting, so the review costs less than rebuilding the whole day later. It fails when you treat the review as planning theater and rewrite everything. The decision changes from "what do I remember" to "what survives the gate." The meaningful trade-off is speed versus nuance. Some ideas deserve only a parked mark, not a full explanation. If an idea needs depth, move it to a dedicated drafting page. Do not let it clog the rail. A freelance designer blocks an hour to develop packaging concepts for a local food maker. The visible constraint is a short studio window before a supplier call. He begins with the notebook spread, sketch direction in the center, raw ideas in the spill rail. 12 minutes in, the supplier calls early. He captures 3 unfinished thoughts at the edge and jumps to the call. The plan fails because he leaves without marking the rail. The cost appears later as lost intent, not lost paper. That evening, the page holds fragments he no longer understands. The learning loop is the useful part. At review, he marks 2 ideas as delete, carries 1 forward, and writes a new rule for this context. If a creative session is interrupted by another person, he marks the rail before speaking for more than 2 minutes. Next attempt, the output is cleaner. 1 developed sketch, 2 parked variations, and no mystery fragments. The takeaway is not perfect discipline, it is a changed trigger. The system breaks in 3 predictable ways. First, the spill rail becomes a diary. If a line cannot imply a next choice, shorten it until it can, or move the reflection elsewhere. Second, the carry forward box becomes a storage unit. If the same item crosses 3 gates without action, decide whether it needs a calendar, a real project page, or deletion. Third, the center field becomes crowded again. When 2 actions fight for the center, distinguish reversible from high consequence decisions. Reversible tasks can be chosen by context and energy. High consequence decisions need a slower page, more information, or another person. The notebook is a clarity tool, not a substitute for judgment. The opening tension was a page full of thoughts, competing for the same attention. The resolution is visible. Raw thoughts sit in the rail, only 1 action sits in the center, and the next review gate is known. Keep the system small enough to use under pressure. Capture without promoting. Triage at 7 lines or a context change. Sort by where action can happen, not by elegant categories. Treat repeated deletions and repeated carry forwards as data that changes the next capture decision. Most importantly, keep asking the diagnostic question. What will this mark make me choose next? If the mark produces no future choice, it does not belong in the rail. If it does, it has a place outside your head. The tiny system works when the notebook stops being a container for everything and becomes a machine for choosing the next thing.